Good night of Shabbos, everyone. Shabbos Parshas Haazinu. Shabbos in between Yom Kippur and Sukkos. We're in the holiest time of year, the most special, precious time of year. And we're reading a parsha that is such a beautiful parsha. There's a change in this parsha. Up until now, Moshe Rabbeinu was speaking in prose, and now Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking in poetry. And he changes to poetry because on the last day of his life, he wants to take the message that he's been giving to the Jewish people in the book of Devarim, and he wants to solidify that message, to make sure that that message gets in very clearly. Sometimes prose doesn't do it. Sometimes lecturing doesn't do it. But when you sing a song, you tell a story. You give a metaphor, you give an example, you give a mashal. So then it deeply embeds that message into the heart, into the mind, into the psyche of a person. And God wants to send that ultimate message of how much he loves and cares for the Jewish people. In a very moving description of God's love, Moshe Rabbeinu describes God's love like that of a nesher, of an eagle to its children. And he gives two examples of an eagle's love to its children, that when he goes to wake up his children, Yair Kino al goes alav yirachef. He just hovers over and flaps its wing and wakes up his children. Yifros knafav yikocheyu yisayu al evraso, and then when he carries them on his back, so that they should be impervious to the arrows that are shot to them from the earth. And then he's willing to take one for the team. In case anybody shoots an arrow, he's going to protect his young. But you have to wonder why it's necessary to have both of these metaphors. Just tell me that it puts them on the back. That's big. I'm going to take one for the team. I'll take one for my kids. Let them shoot me, not my kids. Because my kids need to stay alive. Isn't that big enough? And then, oh, he's so nice to them. Look at the way he wakes them up. Shkayach. How does that add? So the truth is that we know that a lot of things that we do in the name of love of another, is really in the name of love of ourselves. It's hard to admit and it's hard to come to understanding, but very often the things that we do are because they work for us. And unfortunately, there are people that they will say, I love you, but really what I love you means is I love what you do for me. The friends that I choose, the people that I hang around with, the people that make me feel good. And that ultimately is really all about me. When the eagle takes its young and puts on its back, there's a possibility that the eagle is saving its young because it wants to make sure it has young and that it doesn't lose its young. How do I know that the eagle is really indebted and taken care of, completely focused on its children, focused on its young for the sake of the young, to make sure that they're comfortable and they're taken care of? That's when it wakes it up, when it hovers over the nest, when it doesn't swoop in and scare them, but it hovers over the nest and softly, gently, it wakes up its young. And that can only be done because it cares about its young. It's nothing for itself. It doesn't do anything for itself. For itself, it'd be better to take a glass of cold water, pour it on the kids and wake them up. But for the young, they need to be brought out of bed in a comfortable, happy kind of way, so that the rest of their day is not working out the trauma of the morning. And that's where it's proven how much they love their young. And that's the message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to send to the Jewish people, that like an eagle who takes care of its young for the sake of the young, that's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of us. He gave us the man, he took us out of Egypt, he gave us the water. And then he gave us clouds of glory. Now, taking us out of Egypt and giving us the man and giving us water were basic things that he needed to do in order to be able to establish a nation. But to show that nation that it loved it, to show that nation that he loved and worried about everything about that nation, about the care and the welfare of that nation, those were the clouds of glory. Those were the Sukkos that we lived in. You know, there's no holiday for the man. There's no holiday whose main portion is all about the be'er, is all about the well. But there is a holiday for the clouds, because the clouds was going that extra mile to show us how much he loved us and how much he was focused on us. And it could never be misconstrued that maybe it's because he needed a nation. This was all about us and what was best for us and how it would make us feel protected, taken care of. And that's the message that Moshe Rabbeinu needed to embed inside of the psyche of the Jewish people. And he needed to drive that home. And he drove that home in song. He drove that home in the Shira. That message is the message of Sukkos. When we walk into the Sukkah, we're reminded that at the end of the day, look at how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us. 3,300 years of traumatic years of Jewish history, that not only we survived, but we flourished. With all the trauma that we endured, we're flourishing because HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares for us and loves us so much. The divine eagle is protecting its young. And as we daven Ma'ariv tonight, and through the holiday of Sukkos, those words, Hapore Sukkah Shalom Aleinu, that God spreads his Sukkah Shalom, his Sukkah of peace on us and his entire Jewish nation and on Jerusalem, should fill us with an extra sense of encouragement and strength, that we know that we have a God that loves us so much and that gives us so many opportunities and is so worried about us and worried about our development, worried about our comfort, worried about our confidence. And that if we would open our eyes, we would see and feel all of that love. And this is the preparation for Sukkos, that when we walk into that Sukkah, that we feel that message. Parshas Haazinu sends it to us in spades. And this is our preparation for the great festival of Sukkos. Because knowing this fills us with a sense of comfort and confidence that allows us to fulfill the mitzvah of V'samachta b'chagecha, and to be filled with a sense of joy and happiness at being God's nation. We should have an amazing Shabbos, an amazing Sukkos, and we should be zocha to that blessing that God is the one who's Porei Sukkah Shalom Aleinu. He spread it and should continue to spread it on Kol Am Yisrael v'Yerushalayim, on us, the entire Jewish nation, and ultimately, quickly and speedily in our days, on Yerushalayim Kodesh. Have a beautiful Shabbos.